Welcome to the second part of mic and audio stuff for VTubers and PNGTubers. In this video, I'll be going over some basic mic technique and how I would set up OBS after getting a new mic. For the examples, I'll be using a Samsung Q2U via USB because, well, USB mics are usually the first mics people get, and this is geared towards beginners. When it comes to mic technique, it's pretty simple. Number 1, get the mic closer to you via an arm so it's like 2 to 6 inches away. Depending on the mic, getting too close can cause you to sound muddy due to something called the proximity effect. This is when the closer you are to a mic, the more bass in your voice it'll pick up. On the other hand, if you use the included stand that mics usually come with that sit on your desk, your mic will be further out. And the further out your mic is, you would have to increase the gain or level for it to capture your voice. This will end up leading to your mic capturing more of your room, as well as your voice sounding thinner. This will also lead to your mic picking up your keyboard and mouse a lot more since the source of sound will be closer to the mic. Here's an example, and I'm sorry ahead of time. Okay, so this is what the mic sounds like if it were on my desk and I cranked the volume up to a level so I could pick up my voice while simulating gaming or typing. So you can see it's cranked up all the way. So if I'm like typing, if you can hear me like playing a game and all that while like clicking, it'll sound like that. And this is without any filters. So if I turn filters on while I do this, this is what it'll sound like. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm pretending like I'm playing a game right now, kind of aggressively. And this is how the mic sounds while on my desk, with filters on. See, it's not that nice at all. So get a cheap mic arm and get that mic off your desk. Next, have the mic at an angle to avoid plosives, the harsh P sounds. If you don't have a pop filter or windscreen, this can help a lot. Here's an example of me speaking straight into the mic a couple inches away with no pop filter or windscreen. Again, I'm sorry ahead of time. Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, here's an example of the mic at about a 45-degree angle off to the side of my mouth at the same distance. Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now that you have a grasp on some basic mic technique, here's how I would set up a USB mic and OBS from scratch. Okay, so we're going to do this in one take and we'll see how it goes. So first things first, I prefer disabling global audio through settings, audio, and disabling everything under global audio devices because I prefer to do everything manually. Because sometimes some scenes I want desktop sound and other scenes I don't. The same goes for mic. And that's a good way to do it. And I'm too lazy to like, if I mute one thing there and then I go to the other one, it'll stay muted and I'm just going to forget. So it's just nice to do it that way for me. All right, next, I like to make sure my mic level is close to a good level starting from scratch. And we can do that by right-clicking the little speaker there, going to sounds, which would open up this window, going to recording, finding your mic. I guess you can just double click on it, going to levels. So I already have it set up, but usually mics start around here and I'm a little bit quiet. I'm in like the upper greens the whole time. Well, like mid to upper greens. And whenever I'm speaking, normally I like to be in the high greens, low yellows. So yeah, that puts me right about there. And you can right-click this to change from dB to percentage and all that. Okay, so that's how I would add a mic. Actually, did I even do that? No, I didn't. So how I would add a mic to OBS in the first place is by right-clicking the little box, add audio input capture, and then clicking OK, and then you pick this from your list of devices. But since we have a mic here already, we do not need to mess with that. Let's get rid of that. Boom. Okay, next, filters. So we'll be using OBS filters for this example, but you can use your own VST plugins if you want. So the main ones I use are a noise gate, compressor, and limiter. Noise suppression is a popular one, but I never really used it. So we'll use it here. So to add filters, you just go into your mic, the filters, add, and then you can see all the various filters that you can add. So we'll start with noise suppression. And the chain does matter. And from what I've seen, you want to add like the suppression first, gate, compressor, limiter in that order. So we'll start with noise suppression. And you can, you're able to hear my mic throughout all that. Or my mic, not my, sorry, my mouse. There you go. But right now, if I'm clicking, you can't really hear anything. And my voice, it sounds about the same. So the quality probably got a decent amount better with that. Because from what I read, I did a short Google search, and RN noise, it uses an AI model to filter human speech from other sounds. So I imagine it can scuff out, but it doesn't seem too bad. So next up, noise gate. Boom. Keep the name noise gate. And then you're hit with all these options. What a noise gate does, it blocks noise below the closed threshold until a noise above the open threshold happens. So for instance, if you had a fan running and it was at minus 50 dB in the meter, the mic won't pick it up if it's set under the closed threshold. But once you start talking and at a level that's above the open threshold, the mic will pick up both your voice and the fan. So it's not like NVIDIA broadcast or anything that'll completely block it out even while you are talking. So yeah, keep that one in mind. As for the settings here, the closed threshold, it should be set to just above ambient noise. So maybe around like minus 45-ish or so. It's very dependent on the person, the mic, your whole setup, and all that stuff. As for the open, that should be set to just under your speaking volume. So for me, at the quietest, I'm probably, like if I move away from my mic a little bit, maybe like minus 30, minus 35 is where I would put it. So let's see. We'll put that minus 35. I accidentally closed it. There you go. So minus 35, and then like I said, for this, I wanted this at like minus 45. Or something like that. Okay, so onto attack time. That just shows how fast the gate goes from closed to open. Hold goes for, or it's how long the gate stays open if you go under the threshold. And for release, it's how fast the gate goes from open to closed. There were some awesome pictures I saw on Wikipedia, so I'll probably edit that in here in post. And then there's release, which is how fast the gate goes from open to closed. Okay, that's it for noise gates. Next up, compression. Boom. So a compressor, what it does is it lowers the signal once the volume is, or once the threshold is reached by the ratio set, and raises the signal when under it, thus compressing the dynamic range. Basically, the volume when you raise your voice will be brought down to a level as if you were speaking normally, so listeners' ears won't get blown out. And if you're speaking quietly, that'll get brought up. So it like normalizes the volume, like the overall volume, aka dynamic range. So, hold on, let me look at my notes real quick. Okay, the ratio. So using 2:1 as an example, every 2 dB I go above the threshold, the compressor reduces the signal by 1 dB. And the threshold, obviously, is the where you want that to kick in. So we'll keep it at minus 18 for now. So that way, you can see I'm hitting like minus 18 right there. But if I get louder, it doesn't really go up that high. If I didn't have that on, it would probably clip and sound absolutely disgusting. So yeah, there's the ratio, threshold, attack. That's how long it takes before the compressor kicks in once you cross the threshold. And release, that's how long it takes before the compressor adds gain when under the threshold. Like I said, I'm not really adding any output gain or anything. And you can add sidechain ducking through all that. And that's the Twitch integrated throwing system before anyone notices that and comments on it. But yeah. And ducking just means when you're talking, that source will get quieter and all that. And last but not least, the limiter. Add limiter. It's basically an what's it called? It's a compressor if the ratio is set like infinity to 1. At least I'm pretty sure that's what I read somewhere. Too lazy to look it up. But yeah. Basically, it sets a limit to how loud you can go. So if I set that to -20, you can look at the meter, and I'm not going above 20. It'll probably scuff out the sound. It does sound scuffed in my ears, but yeah. I like to keep that at like very close to like between -5 and 0. So I'll keep that at -1. Sounded kind of like poppy in my ear. It wasn't pretty. But yeah, that's what the limiter does. Oh, and the great thing about OBS filters is you can add it to any audio source. Like, I'll add limiters or compressions to my game capture, Discord, and music sources, so they'll always be at a level I like, and I'll spend less time adjusting volume. So it's a very nice time saver for me. And I haven't heard anyone complain. And looking back at VODs and stuff, it sounds fine. But yeah, that's kind of like the basics of how I would set up OBS audio. Okay, I'll see you guys in post. Later. If you made it this far, well, thank you. No plugs here. I just hope this helped with getting some mic technique down and setting OBS up. I'll see you guys next time I think I have something of value to add or decide to edit down streams for long-form content.